What was it about Nkrumah that fascinated him?
Well, it's about a leader, an African who understands the place of Africa in world politics and who was willing to affirm it. Nkrumah and his mother and other leaders of then fought for the independence of the different countries in Africa. And he read quite a lot about Nkrumah, about Egyptology, and about African medicine and African music, African history. And he believes that those are distinct from the Europeans and the American history, and that they should be affirmed to the rest of the world. So Nkrumah was on the forefront of championing what was African, yes.
So
and the unity of Africa.
So
yeah.
Fela was a deep reader.
It was, oh yes, he was a deep reader. When I was a student in Ife, he used to come regularly to come and lecture us. And come in, he would bring with him huge, big books that have run out of print, about how, Egypt, Africans were Egyptians and Egyptology, Egypt, this, Egypt, that, That's why he named his band, Egypt Band at that time, So we will listen attentively. He will lecture us during the day and perform, his music during the night. So,
what really attracted you to him?
Honestly, it has to do with when I was growing up. By the time I was, entering secondary school, there were just 2 record stores in Ado-Ekiti, in the whole of the town. Individuals having record playing system were not many in their homes. So after our dinner at 6, 7 p.m., we go in front of those stores, and then you entertain with Egbegole, Patewo, Fogo, Ebedi, Sisi, Nigo, Kon, all those music. We jump up with our baggy trousers, jumping up and dancing until we are tired at about 10 p.m. and go back and rest. So that was how I began to love him, and all kinds of stories about the mother that were told. And, I come from a family where, which was the first house in our town that had a roofing sheet, corrugated iron sheet and a glass window. And that was when the mother visited. That was the house, she stayed when she was campaigning around Nigeria for the independence of the country. So my dad and my grandparents used to tell me that this was where Fela's mom stayed and that kind of thing. So, that further attracted me to him until I got to the university, explored the music fully, not just his own music, Peter Tosh, Bob Marley. I've been drawn to radical artists all my life.
So did that inspire some level of radicalism into you?
Honestly, then you pick up the papers, you read articles by Shola Oshobu, by US, Alawa Kabashorun, and so many people of that time, and I was taken in by what they say, the way they say it, and I was intended of forming my life, patterning my life after them, and that was it. Yeah.
I didn't realize how radical you are until I read this book.
Actually, I've shown that tendency for radicalism for being a rebel since my secondary school days. I told a story in that book. When I was in year 3, my school was going to play a football match. And the seniors said, well, we have to go and do juju. And we must all contribute money to do the juju in town. And I refused to pay. I said, look, you cannot win a match by juju. You have to practice. You have to, do your homework and all of that. They were not happy with me. A few days to the match, they came around 1 a.m. trying to look for those who have not paid. And I happened to be one of them. They asked me why I have not paid. I said, it's not because I don't have the money, but because I will never pay. Because I know that most of those guys who are on the team were either Igbo smokers or some layabouts who never go to the field to practice. So they brought me out, removed all my clothing and beat the hell out of me. And I shook that off and went back to bed. And on the day of the match, I joined them to go to the town stadium. And we had barely 3 minutes on the pitch when the Christ School, which was our city rival, scored the first goal, second goal, third goal, fourth goal, fifth goal, sixth goal, seventh goal. So we managed to score 1. So I said I was vindicated. So going back to school, They branched in the Babalawo's house and broke his window panes and everything. The man jumped out and ran. But, I always do these things that put me in trouble, but I always end up being vindicated. A second incident I would like to tell you about was also in the same school. I didn't know where that came from, actually. We had some seniors, the moment they smoke their Indian hemp, they come looking for Gari to take, I think, I don't know what is in Indian hemp that gives them that kind of appetite. They will break your locker, take your Gari, your sugar, your milk, soak the Gari in a bucket, and, they eat as if, that was what was going to save their lives. So, that for me was injustice. So I then mobilized some of our friends. I said, look, I'll be told that Igbo they smoke, they used to plant somewhere around the brook on the campus, and I mobilized them. We went there, we uprooted all the Igbo there, buried them, and then came back. Somehow somebody went and informed them that I was the leader of the gang that did that. They came for me and beat the hell out of me. So those two incidents, growing up, told me that there must be something innate about rebellion, about radicalism in me.
And that's the reason you've gone to prison or jail
yes,
more than 15 times?
More than 15 times. Actually, when I was in university, an uncle of mine, who is retired, and Professor Lomola, called me one day to his office and said, young man, I said, yes, I had a problem of what I published on campus, and I was trying to resolve that. And he said, look, I want to ask you a question. Do you know the goats? Those goats, black goats, yeah. You see the way they are walking around the streets? I say, yes. And you know the lion. Have you been to the zoo in this school? I say, yes, I've been to the zoo. You can see that the lion is in a cage. I say, yes. I say, look, as you go ahead, you have to determine which one you want to be. Whether a lion that will come in the cage or the goat that will be walking free on the street. So I left him. So I had to reflect on this when I was in detention. Okay, yes. I think I've opted to be a lion to be caged.